Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me here on Just Shelve It. This is episode 12 of Shooting the Shelf, and I've got a special guest, Kyle Moore, coming on to talk with me here in a few minutes, largely about Star Wars, but we'll talk about some other stuff, toys in general, Mythic Legions, and all of that. So he's pulling double duty today. He was on My Wife Is Going to Kill Me this morning, and now he's slumming it here with me over on my shelf. So I hope all of you have had an awesome week and a good weekend. And whether you're watching this live with me on Sunday night or you're tuning in later in the week, I hope you enjoy it and you can get some good Star Wars and other conversation out of this while you're doing whatever it is that you do. I see a couple people lighting up the chat already. Danny, Travis, thanks for joining me. And give a big digital welcome to the one and only old man Kyle.
How's it going, everybody?
Welcome to the shelf, sir.
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you. I've picked up from conversations with watching My Wife Is Going to Kill Me or listening that you and I probably have some similar opinions on Star Wars things that you might not always get to voice over there. So I figured we'd get a chance to bat that around a little bit tonight.
Great. Always love talking Star Wars anytime.
Yes. Travis is coming in with some zingers here.
Travis. Oh, man.
So, yes. All right. So I know one of the things we're going to talk about tonight is Andor, but we'll save that for a little bit later in case some people we will definitely have spoilers in that, but we'll wait to get into that a little bit. Curtis saying he loves you. He beat me to it. He told me to tell you that, but he got you.
Got me, Curtis. Good to see you, buddy.
Danny, thanks for joining.
Danny.
Yeah. Douglas, J-Mac, thanks guys for coming out. It's good to have you here. We were just talking before we went live, and I just got back from RetroCon. I got home earlier than I expected, so it was nice to catch a little nap this afternoon after a late night last night. But
how was it?
Yeah, RetroCon. Oh, I think I lost your audio.
Oh.
Let's see.
Am I there?
Nope. I don't hear you. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
You hear me? I can see your. Okay. All right. This is not a Mike Casper curse. This is my technology. It seems like. Kyle, hold on. I'm gonna bounce you out and bring you back in. Oh, they hear both of me. All right, or both of us.
Okay.
Maybe it's just my headphones aren't working. Sorry, folks. Yep, looks like my earbuds died. Let me see if I can get some other headphones here.
I don't think I'm the only one who has to wind his stuff up, Trav.
There we go. All right. Yeah, apparently I left my headphones are not charged.
Well, that'll do it. That's why you need the cords, just like the old man has. You don't have to mess with that.
Yeah. Oh, Danny says he's got a bunch of figures in his kitchen in the dyeing pot. So.
Man. I have figures everywhere. There's figures all over the place. I got them laying out. They're everywhere.
Yeah, I'm literally surrounded. Anyone who's seen my apartment knows it's just floor to ceiling action figures and pops and comic books. So, all right. Yeah.
So RetroCon, you were saying you were at RetroCon and you got back early.
Yep, got back early. We left a little early, and Sean Scavarno went with me. He lives right down the road, so it was cool to hang out with him at a convention again. Since he didn't force me, but he kind of really talked me into going to Legions Con last year, and that's completely, it. Yeah, completely changed everything for me. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Got to hang out with a lot of cool people, and you're going to be at Legions Con, correct?
I'm going to be at Legions Con. It will be my first one as well, just as PowerCon was, where we met finally. Yep. And what was the difference between the vibe between PowerCon and Legions Con, would you say?
Well, Legions Con was a lot smaller. At least, I mean, it was a smaller room, was a smaller venue, I feel like. I mean, that Ohio Center was massive.
Okay.
I've never been to PowerCon before.
Yeah, me neither.
When I went to Legions Con, like, I had barely just gotten into the figures, and I didn't know anybody. I wasn't in the community yet. I didn't know anybody. So, like, Sean's talking about, oh, it's the guys from My Wife Was Going to Kill Me. I'm like, I don't know who those people are.
Well, now you do.
And now I do. Yeah. And but like, so it was different for me because now I'm starting to know people, meet people in the Cabal, talk to people. So I felt more comfortable at PowerCon being in the community, and just being there to hang out with them. And RetroCon was the same way.
Oh, that's good.
PowerCon, I think, was a more, like, the overall atmosphere was more fun. RetroCon was just a big convention hall, and it was packed. I think they were like, talking to some of the guys that had been there before, they thought they were maybe, throttling the admission, because there was a line wrapped around the building half the day yesterday.
That's always good, though. That's always good.
But even then, it was still crowded. The only place that was comfortable was the aisle where the Four Horsemen booth was, and Wolf King and Toy Forge were, because that was where the celebrities were back there, like the voice actors and actresses. So it was more open.
Yeah,
and it was just cool to hang out back there and talk to everybody. So
yeah, man, I cannot wait till Legions Con. I am so excited. I've been looking forward to it all year long.
Yeah, and Legions Con being its own 2-day event and not like an attachment onto a different toy show, I think is going to be a really different vibe this year, especially since so many people are staying at that hotel. So getting to hang out with people last night after the show, like going to dinner and then, getting to hang out and everything, that was a lot of fun. Similar to PowerCon, just it wasn't in hotels. So yeah, I think Legions Con is going to be incredible.
I can't wait. I cannot wait.
So since we're talking about Legions, you collect Mythic Legions, correct?
I do. Yeah, yes. I got in a little late. Yeah, I was one of those people that wasn't sure about this whole pop and swap and the price point at the time about it. And I was like, yeah, I'll kind of see what happens. And of course, by the time I got in, I'm still looking for heavy hitters. So,
okay.
But thank goodness I know a lot of people. And when I need to go get an Atomon or something, I know that I can get one.
Awesome.
So without having to take another mortgage out of my house, but it's getting pretty close. So yeah. I noticed some of the prices recently are a little more than I pay monthly for my house. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. But yeah, so I got in.
Okay.
I was just saying, I'm just trying to fill in some of the pieces that I didn't get. I started out when I was collecting Legions. I was like, I like this one, so I'm going to get this one. I don't care for this one, so I'm not going to get this one. And then as time has passed, I've just realized you got to have all of them, because at the very least you can use them for trade bait later.
Sure.
Something that you can have to swap with somebody else who made the mistake of not buying them. So, and every time I buy Legions, the price, I spend more and more and more on it. Finally got my Alithia wave, and I just kept getting boxes. I'm like, oh my goodness. I don't remember, ordering this much, and then Cosmic is going to be the same way. And when the builders come, it's going to be great. But no, I have recently said to myself, because I do a lot of the selling as well. Like the My Wife's Going to Kill Me guys do. I do a lot of shows and I sell as well. My thought was, okay, I need to start slimming down on stuff that I'm collecting so I can put more into Mythic Legions and Cosmic Legions. And for me, as long as I've been collecting, that's like an addict saying, okay, I gotta, like the reverse, like I gotta kind of quit this stuff. I gotta get on the straight and narrow. But unfortunately, it's the opposite. I gotta quit some of these other straight and narrow things so I can do my Legions addiction. So, and I
Yeah.
know you know what I'm talking about, and a lot of people out
Yep.
there watching do exactly know what we're talking about, because
Yep.
they not only are they addictive and they're fun to collect, but man, they're getting better and better every time they give us a wave. So
Absolutely. Well, speaking of the Devils right there, Cone Boy's jumping in.
oh, Core Boy! I swear to God, I didn't steal your sandwich, man. Matt Rodriguez threw me up under the bus. Oh no! I'll never live that down. Just like the old man moniker, that and the hour I've wasted of Gerard's life telling him how to run his business, how to run their business.
Well, don't worry. I despite promptings, I'm not going to get you to run through the 10th anniversary plans.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
No. It's the excitement. I get it. Like
It was, and I didn't even realize I was doing it until Jason Boonstra, my buddy Jason. I know you know Jason. He was pulling on my ear, like, okay, you need to shut up now. And Jason is the most obnoxious guy. And when he's pulling on your ear to tell you to slow down, you know you're out of control. So that's where I was with that. And but Corn Boy and Jeremy and the guys are having a lot of fun with it. So I'll roll with it too.
All right.
CB's going to get some serious breakfast sandwiches, though, at Legion's Con. Yeah.
Anthony's saying he and Steven are sitting in the love seat watching us tonight. So,
oh, excellent. Can't wait to meet Anthony, too.
Anthony's really cool. I got to meet him at ZoloCon and back in March, and got to hang out with him last night and all the other guys. So it was cool being there when that picture of Steven with the sword happened. Yeah. First, Greg had it, and then Steven came over, and I was like, I need to back away from these guys because Greg's got some reach.
They could start swinging it at any time, yeah, especially Steven.
I'm going to go sit on the couch now. Let's see. Yeah, Danny said he stopped collecting Legends in DC. Yeah, I'm with him. I'm paring down a bunch of my other stuff, keeping just core characters that I like, and
yeah, that's what I've done with DC. I took everything down to just the original, the Super Friends cartoon I watched when I was a kid. So it's just the Super Friends and the Legion of Doom.
Okay.
And that's where I've decided to come down to. So I've only got a few pieces left for that, and then I'm done with DC. Masterpiece the same way. Transformers Masterpiece. So I'm starting to slow down with what I'm collecting, simply not because I don't want to do it, simply because I almost have everything I want.
Yes.
So yeah, it's tough business, but there's always something else.
Yeah. Like I was talking to some people at the show walking around RetroCon. I'm like, man, even 6 months ago, when I walked around the rest of the floor, I would have seen stuff like, ooh, like how, like, can I grab that? Maybe I shouldn't. This time I was just like, well, that means I can't get that Mythic Legion, or that's going to take away from custom parts, or yeah. So, good night, Corn Boy. Thanks for stopping in. It was good to see
you.
Good night, CB. And it was, yeah. And I finally got a couple of Alithia figures myself. I got a couple more coming from Big Bad this week, so excited about that.
Oh man,
this wave is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. I thought the Aerithor wave was tops until I got this one. Now this one's number one. So
yeah.
And I'm waiting to see the Cosmics, how those come out. So
well, they had the Anthony saying tomato pie at Legion's Con. That'll be good.
I have no idea. Is he like an actual, like a pizza or something?
I've only had it once, and I'm kind of picky about food, but I try stuff, and I really liked it. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know I liked it.
Okay. Well, if Anthony says we got to have it, then we got to have it. He's the East Coast guy, so.
And it's weird. Pennsylvania, there's a whole, I don't know if you've ever heard of Pennsylvania Dutch.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So that's like a whole different vocabulary about stuff. Like, depending on who you ask in Pennsylvania what chicken pot pie is, you will get two very different answers and very heated arguments about why the other one is wrong.
Like Michigan, Ohio State.
I'll just nod because I don't
Yeah.
understand that reference.
Okay. I was right. Yeah, you're good.
In some parts of Pennsylvania, chicken pot, like when you think of pot pie, what do you think of?
I think of basically a pie crust, a thick pie crust with chicken and peas and carrots and vegetables and
Sure.
creamy sauce on the inside.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I grew up because my family's from New Jersey. We moved to Pennsylvania before I was born. So I'm not Pennsylvania Dutch. And I grew up here for 30 something years, lived around out in the Midwest and Chicago area, moved back here. Never heard of the other version of pot pie until I was in my 30s.
I didn't know there was another version.
Yeah. Was at work, and the place I was working at was a church. They were making, every now and then they would make lunch for people. And they had pot pie. I was all excited. I walked in and I was like, what? This is like chicken and dumplings. They're like, no, this is pot pie. I'm like, no, it's not.
So not only did they want to correct you, but they knew what you meant when you said chicken and dumplings. You were giving them a smackdown.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I looked it up, and it's just a whole language thing, like Pennsylvania Dutch, German. It was like botboy, like BOTBOI is the original language, and it just got anglicized to pot pie. But yeah, it's more of a stew as opposed to the pie. So anyway,
really weird.
Yeah, lots of weird stuff in Pennsylvania. But yeah, I'm assuming this is a sports thing.
It is. Go Blue. Yeah, Michigan, University of Michigan. Yeah.
I don't. Travis has thrown out the real questions. You don't have to answer that.
Yes, Trav. The answer is yes. They don't like it, and they let me know.
Did you see the T-shirt they put up for Travis today?
I did not.
It's not real yet. Oh, I forget who threw it up in the group. The support group, I think. It's a T-shirt with a roll of toilet paper with a smile on its face. It's like just a little dab or something.
I have to go back and look at that now, which means I have to have another T-shirt.
They said it's not real yet.
Okay,
so.
It's not real yet. Okay. I have an entire chest of drawers just full of my Star Wars T-shirts. Doesn't even include my normal chest of drawers for my regular clothes. It's crazy.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Douglas, keep PA weird. It will be. Yeah. Okay. So transitioning from Mythic Legions into Star Wars, we'll cross over Cosmic yet. You saw the test shots or prototypes or whatever at Legions Con.
Put my hands on them. They were great. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to touch a couple of them?
Yeah, Jeremy pulled one out and the slog out.
Okay.
And he said, I was holding it. And of course, I'm holding it like it's a China doll.
Yeah.
He's like, it's all right. It's okay. So, and I pulled a couple of the little plugs and ports and stuff. And he was talking to me about what they're trying to do. And I'm looking at it, just that thing probably could be like an assault weapon in different states. The thing weighs like 9 pounds. I'm not kidding. It's heavy. Put the thing in a pillowcase. Somebody gonna die. But so I was able to put hands on a couple of them, and it was really nice that Jeremy allowed me to do that. And I was with Trav at the time, and so we were just amazed. It's speechless when you hold one of those in your hand, and you're looking at it, and you're just imagining what it's going to look like with the paint apps on it, and what they're going to do with the weapons and whatnot. So I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It's amazing.
Well, they had the paint sample of him and who's the orange form? Is it Kragnar?
Kragnar,
the orange one.
Yeah, the forearm guy.
They had the paint samples in the white boxes that they had on 4-ish Horsemen O'Clock a week or so ago. They had those there instead of the gray samples. So those two weren't in the case with the rest of them like they were at PowerCon. They were the inbox colored versions. So
they were they were fully painted?
Yeah.
I think I saw something earlier today or maybe yesterday, a quick flash. I was scrolling through the RetroCon stuff, but I have to go back and take a hard look at it because, man, they look so good.
Yeah. They looked great in that gray, even just as they were.
In the
But like,
grayscale.
yeah, seeing them in the full color is just all the detail and the texture is just,
Oh man.
yeah.
Yeah, and he wasn't joking either when they were at the panel, and he said when you pick up the figure and you look at the bottom of the feet, and the bottom of the feet are detailed, and
Mhm.
on one of the figures, they took the back plate off, and where you could, and the back plate covered the holes where you could put chain guns or whatever the plug holes, and even the inside back of that piece that nobody's ever gonna see, fully detailed in scales. It was they don't miss anything, and
That's awesome.
it was so cool. God.
Oh, we got a couple questions out here. Curtis is asking if you have any ideas for my 100th show, which you've got some time to plan, and I'll be open to ideas. So if you think of something cool for the 100th episode of this, let me know.
Okay, I'll see where we're at. That's probably the way you're cranking them out now. We're probably looking at what?
I mean, it'll be, if I'm doing one a week, it'll be 2024 before I hit 100 episodes.
Okay, so I got a little bit of time.
Right? I'm not good at math.
We'll revisit that, Curtis. We'll revisit that. I'll have something lined up for him. It's Travis again?
No, this is another Curtis.
Oh.
I remember seeing those at Hills when I was a kid.
Pet rocks weren't around when I was a kid. They were a new toy. I had just sticks and rocks and
Actual.
I didn't have anything that had faces on it or anything, and so and we used them mostly for beating each other, throwing rocks at each other. So sticks and rocks. I didn't have a pet rock, so
okay.
no, that's a newer toy for me. Everything was in black and white when I was a kid, so.
So for Cosmics, did you go all in or did you just pick certain ones?
No, I went all in. I believe I went all in. It's hard to keep track, but I want to say that I've been going in all in since Airtheer, maybe even before that.
Okay.
And then what I do is I'll get them, and then once Trav gets his, I'll usually grab a few more.
Nice.
Just to have around and see how I like them and stuff. But I'm definitely to the point now, like I said before, where I don't even go, well, this one looks cool. This one I'm on the fence about. I just get them because once they're in hand, they're so much better than the test shots and what we see in on the pictures. So I don't mess around anymore. I just get them. And I try and get as much as I can. Not that I don't know they're coming. It's
right.
Like I tell my wife, I'm like, I'm buying Legions again, and she's like, okay, that sounds good. And I'm like, but she's like, you've known they were coming. You've known they were coming for 6 months or 8 months. Why do you wait until the last second to put $400 together? I'm like, well, stupid. So
I don't have anyone asking me that question, but I'm the same way.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, Curtis is asking, are you in on any of the Silverhawks from Super 7 or the other company that's doing
Not the other company. I'm on the Silverhawks, and that comes back around to the things that I'm trying to put a limit on. The problem is when I say, okay, I'm almost done with my DC, I'm almost done with my Transformers, I'm almost done with where I want to be with Star Wars. Then Super 7 says, here's Silverhawks. Here's Thundercats. And I'm like, well, shoot. And just like the other things is like, when I bought the Thundercats, I didn't buy the robot looking dude.
Oh, right.
I didn't buy the blue Tigra. Just give me the normal Thundercats and the bad guy, the 4 bad guys and the 5 or 6 Thunder. I'm good. Yeah. I'm able to cap that kind of stuff. But and I keep seeing that 4 horsemen have their fingers in all this stuff. So it's like, well, if the horsemen are in on it, then it's going to be ridiculous. Yeah. Like I just pre-ordered yesterday. I just pre-ordered all the 80s Dungeons and Dragons figures.
Okay.
Pre-ordered them all. And if they do Star Blazers, if any of you know what Star Blazers is, or if they decide to do Voltron, I'm never going to be able to stop. Never going to be able to stop. And I don't really want to, but I sure wouldn't mind a slowdown.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
It's like, for me with Silverhawks, I'm getting, is it Steelheart? Is that her name?
Steelheart, yep. The twin.
Yeah,
Steel
I'm getting
Will.
her, and that's it.
Yeah.
I got the 4 Thundercats and the 2 versions of Mumra.
Yep.
Maybe I'll get the mutants at some point, but like, yeah, like gotta be careful for that shelf.
Yeah. Yeah. See, now I don't even have, as you can tell from behind me, I don't even have shelf space, but I know at some point I'm going to, and I would rather have it now and just leave it in boxes or at storage where I only paid 47 for this, or I only paid 100 for this, as opposed to when I finally have the space and now I'm shelling out 200 for that same item or 1,000 for the other item. So I have a problem. I'm in therapy, and unfortunately all I did was get my therapist involved in collecting. So
Yeah.
now we're both going to therapy.
Yeah, indeed. Couple guys are concerned about your pile of loot.
I have the worst luck. For example, when we came on, you had that little audio snafu. That's usually an old man Kyle thing. I tell people when I see them at the store, like I go to Target or I go to my local grocery store, I say, don't get in line behind me. The computer's going to crash. Or don't get in line behind me. They're going to change a drawer out. I'm telling you right now. And sure enough, so when that happened to you, I'm like, that's me. Same kind of crap happens with all my other stuff. Pile of loot is a joke that I've had because I keep forgetting I have stuff in there. And then I blame the companies for not sending me my stuff. But the latest one, I had 2 Thundercats and I had the Bobby Vala, the Gung Ho weapons pack.
Okay.
And, that stuff counts down 87 days, 40 days, whatever. And then they automatically send it to you and they charge you the shipping. So I'm just watching the 2 Thundercats that have been in there for a while coming down. They're coming down, and they still haven't given me the release on the G.I. Joe pack yet, or the Valaverse pack yet. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait until 2 days before they're going to ship those out just to see if the Valaverse finally drops in. It doesn't. I have them ship me the 2 Thundercats figures, and the day I tell them to send them to me. 4 hours later in the afternoon, the Valaverse thing drops.
Oh, no.
That's the kind of luck the old man has. So that's the part of the joke with the Big Bad Toy Stores. Yeah, but right now the only thing I have in my pile of loot is this stupid Valaverse thing. And I have to buy something else because I don't want to spend $4 on shipping for something that only cost me $15.
Yeah.
I'd rather get $100 worth of stuff shipped for $4.
Yeah.
That's how they get you.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever ordered enough from Big Bad that's come in at the same time to really make the pile of loot worthwhile.
Yeah.
Curtis, it just might.
It's the principle of it, Curtis. It's the principle that if I would have just waited 5 more hours, I would have gotten them all, and I wouldn't have anything in my pile of loot. But that's my luck, man. That's my luck.
I did that with Marvel Legends when I was really getting into those with the MCU figures. I found the Loki Corvus Glaive 2-pack from Infinity War, and I knew it was out and I had missed it, so I found it on eBay. I paid for it. It was, way more than retail.
Yeah,
and And like a week later, they like re-released it, and it was like on clearance almost immediately. And I was like,
I traded Dave Bond, another Legions collector from Florida. I traded Dave one of the only 2 Toys R Us Spider-Man, Mary Jane, the first one, the cartoon one, not the movie one. I traded him one of my last 2 for the Corvus Glaive Loki 2-pack.
oh wow!
And about a week later, that's about the same time you did it. So, and of course, you do what you do.
Yeah.
You make the deal because you didn't get it at the time. They wouldn't even trade.
Yeah.
That one stung a little bit, but what are you going to do? It's part of the game.
Yeah. And now I don't have any of those figures anymore. So
Oh wow, you clean them all out.
I mean, I have a couple MCU ones, but just very specific characters that I really like. But yeah, I had like that whole on your left scene is what I called it across my TV shelves, where you had all the heroes coming up against like the 5 bad guys because there were no Chitauri. I
There are
couldn't
no
find
other
Chitauri
Chitauri.
anywhere except for those like $10 cheap ones,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
had just to have something in there. But
They really, when you put them together with the legends, though, they really cheapen that up. They're
yeah,
already kind of a cheap figure, and I get it. But when you set that figure next to Thanos, you're like, oh, that was not a good. That was, I wish I
yeah,
wouldn't have done that.
yeah,
So
and I wanted to get some of the Marvel Select ones, but I couldn't find one priced to a point I was willing to pay the 30 or
the,
$40 for it at the time.
the Marvel Select figures I buy are generally the figure because they are great. I really like them, but they're generally the ones that I buy where they are like Colossus or Abomination, where because those Select figures are sometimes a head taller than the
Oh yeah,
Hasbro figures, so they look kind of weird when you stand an Iron Man next to a Captain America, and he's 4 inches taller.
yeah,
Then that's not right. But like I have a Colossus, and I have I got rid of all of my comic and movie Abominations once the Select one came out because that thing is a brute.
nice.
It's a little bit smaller than I would say it's a little bit smaller than a Legion's Troll. It's that big.
Okay, yeah,
So there are some of the Select figures I do get. Generally, when the scale is not something that you can really tell about.
I liked the what was it, the Immortal Hulk they put out recently, even though it wasn't. I don't know why they use that name other than it was the current comic, but that one that came out
Yeah,
last year, earlier this year, that was a really nice Hulk. I had that for a while and then I traded it, but I liked that with my Legion or my Legends because I thought he was probably a little too big for the Hulk, but I liked that he had that just big presence
the
behind
big
him.
presence. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did the same thing with Gladiator Hulk.
Okay.
I got rid of my MCU Build-A-Figure once the Gladiator Hulk came out for Select. So
Yeah, Rich, that the Better Ray Bill one looks really cool.
it does, yeah. And I'm on the fence. I think I'm gonna get rid of my shoot. I'm blanking out here. The what if guy, the big head
Oh, the Watcher.
I'm debating on getting rid of my Build-A-Figure Watcher because the Select one is really nice. So,
Yeah.
but there are people that are just they'll buy everything, they'll buy it all up, and I just, there's the line's got to be drawn somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Dana said he loves that Gladiator Hulk with what is it? Oh, with an ogre head.
oh, see, now I got to start. When I'm done here, I'm probably going to go in. I actually have that one on a shelf in my. I have that on a shelf in my master bathroom, so I'll probably go in and pull the head off of that and see if I can find a head, a Legion's head
Nice.
laying around. See, bless it.
I don't know if this is a joke or a genuine question, but Anthony's asking, can we get a tour of your shelves?
Anthony, I would love to, but I just don't have a lot of toy shelves. This mess you see behind me is my work area. My toy shelves are in two 10 by 20 storage units. I don't want to say at the other end of town, but about 15 minutes away. I just would love to be able to display my stuff. I just don't have the room. And when I say I don't have the room, I mean, I just don't have it. So, unfortunately, my stuff, I do have a few pieces here and there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, who doesn't have a picture of a gladiator? Who doesn't have a Gladiator Hulk in their master bathroom? But someday, someday sooner than later, I hope to be able to start putting stuff up because I have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
It's. I would have to say, and I don't know if some of you have seen Travis's toy room, and he changes it around a lot. But Trav's toy room ain't nothing compared to the shelves and stuff I would have to have. So it's
okay.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
All right. Well, I hope we get to see that someday.
I do too. And you know what? What I'll do is I will take a snap of a picture. I won't do it right now, but I'll put it. I'll send it to you so you can see. But I've got my personal loose Star Wars figures. I have in those tubs that are the hard, rigid plastic with the lids that come down and they come together.
Okay.
And they use like at stores and different things. And every one of those totes is got a label on it. This one has Jedi in it. This one has Wookiees in it. This one has
Okay.
Ewoks in it. And that is next to my bed. And it goes from the floor to the ceiling. And I have 12-foot ceilings in there, from the floor to the ceiling. And that's just where I keep my loose personal Star Wars figures.
Oh, wow.
So whenever I have to look at something 4 feet off, I have to take 6 feet of these little 6-inch shelves down so I can get to that. So it's a pain in the butt, but
Oh, man.
yeah. So one of these days, God, I really want to do it too, because I just aching to display the stuff. But
Well, when you do, when you start putting your stuff together, reach out to Mike and Brad on Legion's Lair.
Okay.
And debut your toy room on Legion's Lair.
Okay. I'm sure I can get that worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know some people.
Nice. Curtis is asking, what scale of Star Wars do you prefer?
I prefer the 3 3/4 only because there's more of it out, and I can, when I have my display, my original trilogy display, all written out, how I want to do it, and I'm a painting contractor as my regular job, so I know that I can paint. I can use automotive paint to paint. What I'm talking about is that scene in Return of the Jedi when the Emperor lands.
Oh, nice.
And he gets out of the shuttle and they walk across the flight deck and it's all that shiny black and all of the legions of troopers are standing there. I've got all that worked out, and the only thing I'm missing on that are about a dozen more stormtroopers. I have about 60 stormtroopers, loose vintage collection stormtroopers. So I want to be able to put a garrison together of all of the different stuff and then have that. That's going to end up being an 8 or 10 foot table, if you will.
Okay.
And that's just that diorama that I'm putting together. So I do prefer the 4-inch scale over the 6-inch, but I do collect the 6-inch as well.
Okay.
So.
And then you had a follow up on that. If you were to do a HasLab Star Wars Dream Project, what would it be? You can think about that for a minute if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, Star Wars. I remember 20 years ago when I was living in Missouri, and I first discovered eBay, I found a really cool sale that I won, an auction on eBay. It ended up being like 4, and you can't see my arms, like 4 like 3x3 boxes, full of Star Wars stuff. It had everything from like Phantom Menace, like Pizza Hut cups with like the toppers and everything.
Oh yeah.
It had a bunch. I think they were calling them, was it the Saga collection at that point, where they were finally doing like the really articulated original trilogy, or was that vintage collection then too?
No, well, Saga collection, I want to say around 2008. It had the weird kind of
it was like the Vader helmet packaging, right?
No, I don't think so. That might have been even earlier than that Saga line too.
Okay.
But there've been a couple different Vader packaging.
Okay. This would have been like 2003, 2004 when I got this thing, but there's a ton of those figures, a bunch of the Star Wars Unleashed, where they were like the 9-inch.
Yes. Yep. Yep. They came in boxes and they came in cylinders.
Yeah. And I ended up trading, and at Shoot, I ended up trading a lot of that in the local toy comic shop. Other than this, like I kept all the good stuff, and I got almost as much as I paid for it back. So I made almost all my money back on the stuff I didn't keep, and I got like a life-size Chewbacca standee.
I mean, it's the best feeling when you can turn and burn like that and get something you really like to have. And yeah, man, yeah, that's one thing I have a hard time turning away from. We were talking earlier about, do I need that? Do I not need that? Man, when I see a lot of loose Star Wars figures. Right, I mean, boom. If they're in a tub on the ground, I'm 6 years old again, and I'm digging in that tub just to
That's
see if
awesome.
there's. Yep, and I had some things I have way too many loose Star Wars figures. I'm trying to flip, trying to sell, but I can't turn them away. There's just something about them
Sure.
that I just keep putting my hands on them. I'm like, okay, I know in my I'll grab a specific Jedi that came out in like the wave you're talking about, and I'm like, okay, he doesn't have his cloak, he doesn't have his saber, but I know I have his cloak and his saber in my toolbox at home, so now I can complete this figure and then put it in the booth for $15 or whatever it is. So
Nice.
yeah, I have a hard time turning those away.
Well, Danny's thrown up that if he could do a HasLab, it'd be a dewback, but on the quality and articulation of the D20 Wolf or better. Those big bone wolves that people are using with their Legions.
Yeah. Trav had one of those today. I was messing with it.
Or a Bantha with the same treatment.
Are we talking 4 or 6 inch?
I'm assuming Black Series scale.
Okay, so 6 inch scale.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be bad. And with all the issues that the Hasbro Star Wars team has had recently, the thought that he has regarding that is probably on point. But what are you going to get with it?
I just had a thought. Hopefully they would just include it in the package and not be the add-on. Just a bag of sand for either of them.
Oh man, I'd buy that. Just a bag of sand in it. Oh, I got it even better. Jesse. Listen to this. It's a bag of sand from Tunisia where they filmed it.
Oh.
People will lose their minds.
See that
it's
people
probably
would know.
It's probably out of a sandbox.
Yeah.
Some kid backyard.
Yeah.
In SoCal.
The family cat's been peeing it for the past 10 years.
We don't know that. This is bag number 150, right from the sands of Tunisia, where they filmed A New Hope, and people would buy that up in a second. But
my buddy Tyler's coming in with an ATST all the way.
I think that was going to be one of my choices, an ATST. That would be awesome and be super easy to do. I think an X-Wing would be easy to do, considering they've already done one of those jumbo Walmart ones. So they know how to do it. Its question is will they?
Yeah.
And again, it really comes down to what comes with it that's going to make people jump. And I don't know if you heard this story, but my buddy Jason, we were at Celebration and he cornered the Hasbro guy who was in charge of Marvel.
Okay.
And he was telling him, oh, you guys are doing such a great job and all this stuff. We were at the Rebel Scum booth. And he just is telling this guy how great they're doing and how poorly the Star Wars team is doing, and they can't figure it out. And if all they need to do is ask their fans, and he's just laying it on this guy. Well, the woman standing next to him was his wife, and she was in charge of the Star Wars department at Hasbro. And the Rebel Scum guy was standing there going, and Jason just kept right on, just laying it on it. We went back the next day and had a good laugh about it. But
that's hilarious.
He's not wrong.
Yeah.
It hurts me to my core to see that they can't quite get it right. And quite frankly, all they really need to do is just ask the fans. Just say, what would you like to see? And then go with that. We'll see. Hopefully they'll figure it out. But I've backed just about all the HasLabs that went through. So it doesn't take much to get me on that stuff. Peer pressure is a real hard thing for me to get past. So Trav today said, hey, you want to get in the hot tub? And I went, no. He says, come on, let's get in the hot tub. And I went, all right.
That's not peer pressure.
It didn't take much. Yeah. So
Curtis keeps doing like a bantha.
Like a bantha.
Oh, maybe they'll do the train.
Anything Fett. At this point.
Another thing nobody wants.
Yeah. My thought was they would, if they could do some kind of Death Star, It would have to be pretty extravagant for a 6-inch scale. But my thought is if they did it in a 4-inch scale, they could probably do quite a bit of a Death Star scene, with the different levels and whatnot. That would be my guess. Probably something I'd like to see, but it'll be 4-inch scale, but 6-inch scale.
They did. What was it? The Katana was a vintage
Oh yeah,
scale.
The katana is, and then the Razor Crest.
Yeah.
And it is easier to do those scales, but 6-inch you can only do so big.
We don't have to dive deep into the failings of Star Wars Hasbro's teams, but like how did they promote the Razor Crest? And what was it? Not even the week after it backs, they destroyed the Razor Crest in Mando.
This is the brain work. Behind.
And then the week after the Rancor fails, you get the whole Rancor sequence in Book of Boba Fett, or a week or two or whatever. It's like,
yeah. It's hard to imagine that. When I imagine it, I'm imagining that there's this long hallway at Hasbro, okay? And on one side of the hallway are the doors and the offices for the Star Wars people. And on the other side of the hallway are the doors and offices for the Marvel people. And they pass each other in the hallway and they eat together in the lunch break room, but they never talk to each other about what they're doing. And you would think that somebody would go, hey, why don't we just ask Dave at Marvel what he's doing with their HasLab thing, and maybe we can ask him to see what he thinks. No, they don't talk to each other, and then we get a lightsaber. Yeah. That they're already putting out lightsabers, $300 lightsabers. It really wasn't anything different. I
think Hasbro as a whole, they need to like time out their HasLabs so there's not 3 or 4 of them going at the same time, because so many of their fans cross over that they're like, well,
I agree. Or make it a longer, time period instead of a month. Maybe make it 6 weeks. I don't know. There's different logistics that can be worked out, but
right.
They need to. Well, not only that, but now they're getting into other things too. So they just picked up the Dungeons and Dragons line. So who knows? Are we going to get a giant Tiamat? I mean, there's so many different things that Hasbro's into. But what they need to do, in my opinion, are 2 things. One, get it under control and fix some of the problems before you put the next thing out. And number 2, hire a 50-year-old guy in a Star Wars t-shirt to just come in and go, hey, this ain't gonna work. And I know because I'm the 6-year-old inside this body. You need to let me come in there and just let me tell you what's what.
Yeah.
Because whether I'm 6 or I'm 50 or I'm 80, they're gonna take my money so long as they do it right.
Right. I don't know if Corey Cantaloupe is a real thing. I don't know what that is, Danny, but I feel like that would be great. Doug is saying that Hasbro thinks Star Wars fans will buy anything. I think to a point that might have been true. I don't think that's true anymore. Hasbro thinks that.
I think they do, but I agree that Hasbro thinks that Star Wars fans, but I will tell you that I would have to put myself in a high tier of Star Wars collecting. I haven't stopped since 77. And when people like me pull back, then there's something that's not right or something has changed fundamentally with it. Pricing aside, but when you get guys like me who spend thousands of dollars and can do it now that we're adults and we have our own jobs and whatnot, when we stop spending thousands of dollars and start spending hundreds of dollars, eventually what you see is things don't get funded. We're not buying stuff in the stores. So Target says, well, we're not going to buy more from you if we're not going to sell it. So now they're not buying more from Hasbro. So at some point, there's got to be a break, like what we were talking about. And I think we're definitely in that now, where people are just shaking their head. I'm more angry with the Star Wars collecting aspect in the last 2 or 3 years than I have ever been upset with before. So
I know we said earlier, you know, that all Star Wars, we like, I don't know if that was when after we got live or when we were talking before, but like, it's Star Wars. There might be problems with it, but it's Star Wars. We still love it.
yeah, that's exactly right.
Do you think some of the pushback from some of the fans is from that? I don't want to spend a lot of talk about the negative side of stuff, but like the negative side, the toxic side of the community that just doesn't like stuff because. Do you think some of the toy pushback is that, or do you think it's more genuine collectors?
You know, if you'd have asked me this question 6 months ago, I probably would have said, it's probably more with the normal collectors, the standard collectors, as opposed. But I have a cousin who I talk with regularly, and he is a Star Wars honk just like me, and he stopped purchasing stuff because of the direction that the prequels and sequels went. He just stopped altogether buying stuff. So there is a percentage of people, I think, that are doing that, and then there's a percentage of people that, you know, they're not, like for my cousin. He doesn't buy it because he just doesn't like the way that stuff was going. But then there's people that are so mad, as Steven can get sometimes, that they literally go out of their way to discourage people. I'm not saying Steven does this. I'm saying like this mindset. Go out of their way to discourage people from buying stuff and or watching stuff to continue things moving. But again, I think those percentages are smaller than they are the people that are doing collecting and that are saying, okay, you got to fix this. You got to fix this. And, you know, it was funny when I mentioned that story about Jason saying that in front of the husband and wife, but they, or she in particular, has to hear that. And she's probably hearing it, and their team is probably hearing it quite a bit more. And so I would hope that they're taking some of that stuff into heart. We'll see.
And yeah, I hope they listen to the fans and the people that want to keep buying it and get the stuff that they want. I just also wish some of them would, and I know it's not a huge portion of the community, but the ones that are usually the loudest are the ones that like are just complain, or they say really nasty stuff. And it's like, to come all back to the Mythic Legions and the Cabal, like,
oh man,
there's some things in there that happen that are a little negative or a little pot stirring or whatever, but for the most part, everybody's super encouraging and positive. And I just hope that continues. And, you know,
and the great thing about those things that happen in the Cabal and the people that happen in Star Wars and even the Marvel, those are easy enough to see where you just go scroll. These people aren't even worth my time. There are some of those people that have legitimate gripes, but they come at it differently. It's the people that just come on and all they're doing is they're complaining just to hear themselves complain. Yeah, I don't even take their stuff seriously, whether it's positive or negative. Just gotta keep on scrolling.
I don't want to buy the Reva lightsaber because Kathleen Kennedy ruined Star Wars. It's like,
that's exactly right. It's like, do you like lightsabers? Do you collect lightsabers? Do you collect just Jedi lightsabers? Just Sith?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I don't buy anything. I just, you know, I just had to say that. Oh,
yeah,
cool.
right. Yeah. Thanks.
So Danny came in and said that Corey Cantaloupe, unless I'm misreading that name, is a sculptor for Hasbro, and he works on the G.I. Joe line, and he did the Drist Guinevere 2-pack, which I think I saw behind you earlier.
Yeah, I have one of those. Yep, I have one of those with me. Yep, I have one open and I have one sealed because I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ask somebody who's doing well. Walk across the hall and ask somebody who's doing well. Sure. Hey, give me an idea. You know, let me think about something here. And I just, unfortunately, I don't think they're doing it.
Steven, I didn't mean you specifically.
It's Reba, like it's Reba McEntire, like it's got a guitar on it. Reva. Those fingers, those sausage fingers he has hit the B
I mean,
instead of the V.
the B and the V are right
Love you,
there, and
Steven.
if he's on his phone, that's acceptable.
Oh,
Or maybe it
absolutely.
auto corrected him. I know.
Yeah. It might
That's a
have
whole nother
auto-corrected him.
conversation.
Yeah.
So let's get into some Star Wars. We're about halfway through or whatever. If you have a hard out, let me know. But we're about an hour in here, so let's get into the dirt of Star Wars. Well, sorry, Anthony just well, like Reba, she is a survivor. Well, that's true.
That's true.
I know I definitely want to talk to you about Last Jedi. So let's dig into that one, because I have a couple friends big into Star Wars that actually enjoy it, but I have a lot more people in my circle that absolutely cannot stand that movie. And I'm not trying to pick fights with anybody, but I want to talk to someone else and find out what it is you like about it, what things don't you like about it, what works for you, all that sort of stuff.
Well, since Steven is watching, he's going to hear a lot of the same stuff, but he's also going to like one of the things I have to say here. First of all, let me start. I saw it, I don't know, half a dozen times in the theater. And so when I get asked, like I think I did a review with the guys, what'd you think about it, Kyle? Oh, I loved it. I loved it. Loved it. Well, it's 6-year-old Kyle. So once I get past it and I get out of it, now since it's been, time has changed, and I've watched it over and I've listened to my friends talk about it and their opinions and stuff too. I go back and watch it again, and there are things that I do see, that continuity, things I don't like about it, and things I really, I mean, I think Last Jedi has one of the greatest lightsaber battles in all of the Star Wars movies, with Kylo and Rey, and that's just my personal opinion. There are aspects of character development I really enjoy, and then there's some stuff that I just look at it and go, ooh, ball was dropped there. And the thing about it is I'm able to go back and watch it and say, you know what? I get why some people don't like this, or I get why the ball may have been dropped on this. But, the parts I don't like are smaller than the parts I do. The big thing that Steven and I go after, and Steven, if you're still watching, I am leaning toward you on this a little bit. My big thing is the amazement that I had when Luke teleports, transports, puts his life, his force across the flipping galaxy to another planet and gets everything to stop and focus on him. In my mind, was the biggest thing that he could do. And Steven's opinion and many others were he should have fought Kylo Ren. Well, let me tell you, that fight would last 3 seconds. Luke waves his hand, Kylo bursts into flames. That's it. But then Steven has gone back and said, hey, there are things they could have done with that battle scene. He could have come in while trying to talk to Ben, while giving him a little bit of lightsaber action, knocking down those Goliath walkers, squeezing his hand and like a can of wet grapes, and just exploding the little ATS LADATs. And I listen to that and go, you know what? That may have been the better way to do that. So I'm able to step outside and say, okay, I agree, this could have been done better. But at the end of the day, I'm not, at the end of the day, I'm okay that Luke projects himself across the universe. And to me, that's huge. Mm-hmm. It's not as action-packed, I get it. But it's still, in itself, the symbolization of it, and just the raw energy it was going to take him from not using the Force for all that time. Love you too, Steven. To do that, in my opinion, is one of the coolest things of that movie. And yeah, there are lots of different things about it.
Yeah. I totally agree. I do like the projection scene, and I like how that threw off Kylo Ren, and
Well, it threw everybody off. Threw me
yeah,
off.
yeah. I mean, C-3PO even saw him. Like,
Yeah.
I really liked. Like, it really blew me away because I was like, oh wow, it's one of those things where the sequel trilogy introduces a lot of stuff they never back up, they never explain, and I think that's one of the failings of that trilogy.
I agree completely. I want to know still to this day, how did Luke's saber end up in a box in Maz Kanata's basement?
Yeah, and our friend Tyler's thrown in his big gripe, and I agree with this. Why was his lightsaber not green in that scene?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know what it is with Lucasfilm over the last, I don't know how long. They have been, I don't know what it is with their dislike of the green lightsabers. I don't know if it's a special effect thing that's harder to do or something.
I know it used to be with the
Um,
green screen. I know it used to be, but I think they've figured all that stuff out.
yeah.
But that's a good question because it would have been green the entire time because it was lost.
Yeah, I mean it's
You know?
green when you see the flashback to him attacking Ben,
Yeah.
but Ben and Rey just had that confrontation on the Snoke ship, and they destroyed the blue lightsaber. Like, why
Yeah.
did Luke have the blue lightsaber?
And even if he did, even if he did, why wouldn't that would be something that you would think Kylo would have noticed and said,
Yeah,
there's something not quite right here. But yeah, that kind of stuff. Now, it's when you think about it as a whole, that's a little thing, but it's
yeah.
enough to nag. It's enough to nag that 8 years later we're still going, how does that get messed up, or how does Luke throw that lightsaber over his shoulder? This is a Jedi's weapon. It's his it's his soul. It's everything about him. Yeah, right over the shoulder.
I know that sets a lot of people off, and I don't know how I feel about it, but I like it. When I first saw it, I liked it because I was just like, oh, I felt like that was a very, maybe they could have done it better, but it just felt like the most immediate, easy way to show this isn't the Luke we remember. And I know that's a thing a lot of people don't like, is that this isn't the Luke we wanted to see. But again, it's one of those things, they didn't really set up enough of the story as to why he was the way he was.
Yeah.
But I think with what they did explain, that tracked for me. I was like, that works. Like, yeah, it kind of sucks he went down that way, but
But when you go back and think about it, now he does it, and then later, when he starts to explain, hey, a lot of this is politics BS. We got to get back to the original way things were done and whatnot. And the old Jedi ways have to stop so the new Jedi ways can come through. So you get why he'd look at that and go, this is what I'm trying to change over the shoulder. But that particular scene does it for me both ways. I enjoy it, and I dislike it. I dislike it because I saw it and I was like, that's not what a Jedi would do with that weapon, number one. Number two is you have the buildup at the end of Force Awakens where she's walking up the mountain and he turns around and balls drop and skin gets curled and teeth fall out of people's heads, and you realize you got to wait 2 years to find out what else is next. And then you wait 2 years and they work that whole thing up again and you're like, oh, here we go. And he throws it over the shoulder and it makes people laugh. So it's like, it's one scene, but I get both upset and I laugh at it because of both of the ways it was brought to us. It's just deciding on which Monday of the week I'm watching it, that
sure.
which one is it going to get me? So,
I know another sequence a lot of people have issues with is the whole Canto Bite
yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Again, I think that's I would have I liked the idea of that casino world, and like, the super rich of the galaxy like just funding either side. I think that's a really interesting thing. with Disney Plus now, I kind of wish that had been like its own subplot in some other thing instead of the middle of that movie. I feel like I liked the idea of it. It just felt like it was distracting from everything else.
Well, I think because of what was going on in those scenes, not just there in Canto Bight, but around where everybody's trying to do their thing, you lose the importance of that moment when Finn realizes that it's one group of people or a group of a syndicate selling the same vehicles, the same ships to both sides that are funding this. And there is something lost with the immensity of that that scene, because there's so much else going on. I mean, he's trying to get Rose and just them, and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get on board and the whole 9 yards. But it is really an impactful scene, but it gets missed. Not only does it get missed, but to your point, it may not have been in the right sequence to do that. There could have been another part where they could have done that and it would have been more impactful.
Yeah.
But that's another scene that I see, that the information itself is incredible, that you realize that for 40 plus years, that the rebels could just as easily have TIE fighters. Or they could have, or the Empire could have A-Wings. Just depends on who's buying and what day. That in itself is a huge, huge thing to realize, that, the rebels aren't just putting scraps together, and the Imperials aren't just, taking over a factory on a planet to make TIE fighters. They're getting all this stuff from these ultra rich people. And then, of course, it makes you think about what's going on in our lives, in real life, and different things like that, which is, again, I think another reason why some of that stuff was taken that direction, to kind of mirror some of the stuff that we do in the world.
Yeah.
So
maybe we're not, I mean, the people around, especially around the country, might have different opinions, very deeply rooted, but, it's not to get super political or anything, but, the people that are feeding both sides of stuff are the same people, and they're just making the money off of the rest of us watching us quarrel over everything.
Yep.
So.
And then they'll stand behind the people who end up winning.
Yep.
So, and that's what DJ was telling him. Hey, either don't fight, but if you're not going to fight, at least know what side you're going to be standing on when the fighting's done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I love that whole thing with that revelation for Finn. I thought was really good. But I feel with like kind of making him the MacGuffin of the code breaker, and then that wasn't even really.
Yeah.
Like it's like they put so much extra stuff in that portion of the story that like the important stuff got flooded.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. Definitely just some things that you just kind of go, wait a minute, why did they have to do that, or why did they need to do that? So, and that's part of the stuff we're talking about, is just things that don't quite fit, and things they could have done a little bit differently, that even if it wouldn't have been what people wanted, it would have been a little easier to swallow, as opposed to some of the stuff we see. You just go, okay, well, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
what, I know when I first saw it, Last Jedi was, I think I had it as my second favorite Star Wars movie, like the first couple months after I saw it, like right after Empire. I know that's sacrilegious to a lot of people, but I don't know if I have it quite in that same place now. It might be my first favorite after the original trilogy.
Man, what I end up doing when I end up ranking is they end up everything ends up after the original trilogy, and then I have to rank them. And then again, it's just, if I watch Last Jedi and then I watch Clone Wars or Attack of the Clones, it's like, well, maybe Attack of the Clones is better in my book than Last Jedi, or maybe Rise of Skywalker is better than Phantom Menace this time. My big struggle isn't with the sequels or prequels as far as ranking them. It's, man, sometimes Rogue One, I'm like, is this better than A New Hope? Or is this better than Return of the Jedi? I mean, I have to say that I've watched Rogue One probably more in the last 2 years than I've watched any of the other films. There's just something about it that keeps bringing me right back to it. It's so good. And I don't understand why they don't have, and the director's name is escaping me all of a sudden, because I talk about it all the time and all of a sudden I can't think of his name. Why didn't they have him do one of the sequel films? You know,
Was that Gareth Edwards?
Gareth Edwards, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a remarkable job with Rogue One. There are things about Rogue One that I'm not sure I could. Like people say, can you pick apart Phantom Menace? Can you pick apart Last Jedi? Rogue One is one of those movies there's not a whole lot of things that bother me about it or things I would change. It's pretty darn perfect in my opinion. So when I rank them, it ends up being after the original trilogy, and then it's really kind of how I feel about them on that day. I don't have a set.
Okay. I get that. And yeah, I think Curtis, I think I just died to Curtis by saying that I thought Last Jedi was my second favorite for time. It's not my second favorite anymore, Curtis. It's I was just impressed with the fact that they did the whole subverting of expectations. I like that they didn't do what we thought they were going to do. It's come down in my book from where it hangs out, but I still think it's a well-made movie. I think it's shot beautifully. I think the acting is good. There's story parts I don't like about it, and I can definitely pick it apart. But I think that whole sequel trilogy failed from a lack of direction overall. Whereas at least with the prequel trilogy, we can be like, well, that's all from George Lucas, or even the original trilogy, that was all him. And it wasn't as much a corporate thing going on. But, you know, it's still Star Wars. So
it's still Star Wars, and I'm going to watch it, you know, no matter what. So.
And I would go, I mean, movies, it'd be Empire, New Hope, Jedi for me. And again, depending on the day, that might trickle a little bit, but that's the main thing. But anything Ahsoka is top tier for me. She has become one of my top favorite character of any franchise.
Well, if we're going to start putting the TV shows in it too, then that's a whole other list to revisit. If we're talking about just movies, that's one thing. If we're talking about Clone Wars and Mando and stuff, that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
Because the TV shows are being done, even the Book of Boba Fett, where people are really having a hard time with it, is done so well with Favreau and Filoni and Deb Chow that I'm actually more interested in seeing the Star Wars stories continue in television form right now as opposed to theatrical, only because the theatrical is still rubbing people the wrong way. And I just think they need to kind of sit back a little bit and kind of let that settle. And it's been 10 years since it's been 3 or 4 years since Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi. And then so it's been a long time since these movies have been out. And I think that if they announce tomorrow that there's going to be a Star Wars movie coming out in 2024, I think the immediate response, unfortunately, is going to be negative. People are going to wonder who's doing it and what they're doing. Is Kathleen Kennedy still in charge? And so right now the TV people are doing no wrong. Let's just keep moving forward on that. They're dumping money into it, and they're doing a great job. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Now, I'm not saying never make another Star Wars movie.
Right.
I'm just saying there's no need to get right back to theatrical releases when Disney's Plus and the the TV show guys are doing a great job. Guys and gals are doing a great job.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed Book of Boba Fett. Again, there were some things that weren't as good, but overall I liked it.
Yep.
I liked seeing a different side of him. We saw him as a kid becoming the bounty hunter in Clone Wars. I would eventually love to see, whether it's animated or something else, a period, at least a mini series or something, where we get to see him being the badass bounty hunter.
Right.
That we
he's
thought he
known
was going to be in the 80s, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, not only thought he was going to be in the 80s, but thought he was going to be in the Book of Boba Fett. And I have no problem with the new direction of Boba Fett is going. I'm sure not the new direction, but is it the new direction or the new Boba Fett? I have no idea. I don't have an issue with the way the character's going, but you're right. There is a lack of. So is he not a badass? I mean, the last time we saw Boba Fett, it took him, he was swallowed by a giant desert tongue.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think there should be something, because for a long, long time, people wanted to see Vader. They wanted to see why people stuck up against the wall and their eyes got big and their breathing got quicker. They wanted to see that, why he became that, and we're getting it. And I think you're right. I think that's a good call, is to see a younger Boba Fett go through that. And you can pick it up where it was with in the Clone Wars, when he's with Cad Bane and Clone Wars Rebels, when he's with Cad Bane and all that. So you can take him from his late teens, or does Daniel Logan have any interest in and do anything? And side note, at not Celebration, we were at Indianapolis, and we were all having dinner together, all of us that went. Of course, the group that large, they stick you in another room. And at the next table were the new show owners and a group of people that they were with. And one of them was Daniel Logan. And a couple of us had met Daniel Logan before, nice guy. So as they're getting up to leave, we all kind of wave. And of course, he comes right over, nice guy. And so we're talking to him as we do. And again, my buddy Jason goes right for the throat. So are we going to see you in Book of Boba Fett? And he pauses and goes, kind of rolls his eyes up a little bit and goes, I cannot confirm or deny. But it took him a second. It took him a second to say, I can't confirm or deny. And it was like, okay, that's fine. Don't say anything else. We're good. And so we talked to him for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then he left. But I would be okay with him reprising a role. Now he's got to be pushing 30, I would think, at this point. But I wouldn't mind seeing a lead in to him.
Like you said, even the story, I know originally they were teasing the Han Solo movie was going to be Solo Fett. It was going to be like how their rivalry started. And it would have been really cool to see maybe them coming up together in the underworld, or at least Han coming in. And with what they introduced in Solo, which I love that movie. It's got, again, some issues, but overall,
so much fun.
It's so much fun.
So much fun. It's not over the top action. It's not over the top space battles. It's just fun.
Yeah.
And when people ask me about what I think about Solo, I tell them, I said, it's just a fun movie. Yeah, it's just a fun movie.
There's that line in there where they say that, what's his name?
Not Lando.
Beckett.
Beckett. Yeah.
That Beckett throws. Now I'm blanking on Star Wars names.
Val.
No, when he pushed, that he killed Aura Singh.
Oh yeah.
He's like, well, I just kind of pushed her out of the window or whatever, and I'm like, well, she was kind of a mentor to Boba Fett, so like that could have been an interesting way to lead in a hate. Like if you could have left Beckett alive for a while, to where Fett could have seen him and Solo working together.
Yeah.
Stephen's going off in the comments about all the things Boba Fett loves.
Oh,
now that
jeez.
he's gotten therapy. But because you could have had that Boba Fett. It's like, oh, Beckett killed my mentor, even though I had an issue with her. Like she was mine to take out, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's funny when I went back and watched that, and I just pushed her. There's that scene in Phantom Menace with the pod racing scene where you see her and she leans over the rail
Mm-hmm.
to see what's going on, and all I could think of was, and they cut away back to the pod race. I'm thinking to myself, oh, that's when Beckett came up behind her and threw her over the side of the rail. I don't know if that's continuity, but in timelines and stuff, you'd have to go back and figure out when the pod racing was taking place during Solo and whatnot. But
well, because that would have been before Clone Wars, and all her stuff in Clone Wars with Boba
that's
Fett.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yep, that's right. So that definitely would not have worked. But I chuckle every time I see that. It's like, okay, maybe, that was funny how that worked out. But no, that was a nice little little gimme they gave to us that he took out Aura Singh, and we know she's dead.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Got a couple more people joining in. Let's see. Mike Casper's here. I saw Alexander Earl Deshaw joined in. So yeah, welcome guys.
hey guys.
Oh, he Mike thinks.
Hey, there are people in our circle that are older than me chronologically, but not get off my lawn older than me. It's all in the attitude, baby. It's all in the attitude. I got into it with a guy at McDonald's the other day because he didn't fill my orange juice cup all the way to the top. That's old man Kyle. Doesn't matter if you're 10 years older than me or not. I mean, I literally argued with him. I'm like, fill that up. I paid $3 for a medium orange juice, filled it up. He's pointing to the line. He's like, this is full. I'm like, this isn't full. Give me all my orange juice or give me a refund. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, we have some guys that are 51, 52 that are actually chronologically older than me, but my soul is super old.
All right, so we talked about Rogue One. We'll throw up spoilers here. Let's dive into Andor.
Okay.
I've gotten to talk about this a little bit with my friend Tyler. He's Failed Imagineers here in the chat. I'll do a quick shout out to him. Anybody who's looking for Star Wars customs, I know a lot of our guys in the community are, Mythic Legions and all that. Anybody looking for Star Wars stuff, check out Tyler's Failed Imagineers on Instagram. He does amazing Star Wars customs.
You said Failed Imagineers?
Failed Imagineers, yep. Does a lot of like Trooper and Mando customs specifically, but
okay.
He's
I got it.
Excellent painter. And I keep trying to lure him into Cosmic and Mythic Legions, but he's holding strong on Star Wars. So,
well, as soon as he takes that step into Legions, game over, baby.
Yeah,
game over.
So I gotta post this one.
Not Steven, you are a big reason why I don't do a lot of that anymore.
Hey,
a quick story. The reason why that is because I do a lot of driving for my job, and I'm constantly seeing state employees standing around construction areas, whatever, 6, 7 guys. I've got dozens of pictures. This is the old man thing. I would send emails with attachments to my state lawmakers saying, this is why we aren't getting stuff done. And Steven worked for the city at one point. He's a different position now within that city, but he explained to me, listen, the reason why you see 4 guys standing around one guy in a hole is because if that hole collapses, it takes 4 guys to pull him out. And once he started explaining to me, now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that every time I go by an intersection and there's 4 guys standing doing nothing, that's what it is.
Right.
It's not every time, but because Steven was able to explain it to me, I kind of backed off on that a little bit. So It's been a couple months, Steve, since I called or emailed my state representative.
Oh, there you go.
It's still happening because
I'm pretty sure it's the same in every state, because when I drive
I'm sure it is.
something in Pennsylvania, there's at least like 7 or 8 guys standing around trucks doing stuff, and there's like one guy with a jackhammer, and it's not even a hole, you know. It's
nope. So yeah. So again,
Danny, he explains this kind of stuff all the time. So yeah, I never even thought of the safety aspect of it.
Yeah. So I have backed off on that quite a bit, but I was doing it probably more than a regular person should, letting their state people why you were upset about something. So.
It's very rare for me to write in or anything like that. I did the Wendy's about a month ago. Went in on my lunch break. I have 30 minutes. It's right across from my work, but the line was ridiculously slow. And there was this one, I imagine she was normally a very sweet elderly lady behind the counter, but she's hunched over. She could barely walk.
Yeah.
No one else is helping the front line. Everyone else is doing the drive-through. They're making fun of her, and they're like, "Oh, don't bring your negativity over here. We're the fun side." And I'm like, she can barely walk. Why is she walking back into the kitchen to get people's orders? And so I sent it, and my order was messed up, but I wasn't going to go complain to her, because like I said, there's a line of people. So I wrote an email. I was like, look, I'm not going to be coming back to this location anytime soon, because the way your employees were dealing with each other and not working as a team to have this massive line. The floor was incredibly sticky. It was a mess.
Yeah.
And I know things with COVID and everything have been, thrown off, but yeah, Tyler's been, that Wendy's, I can't go back to that one anymore. But I thought
he knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, he lives in the neighborhood back behind there. So, yeah.
Well, it's unfortunate, but
back to Star Wars. All right. Spoiler warning. If you have not watched all 3 episodes of Andor, we are going to be getting into some spoilers. Some of you seem like you're not that thrilled with it, or that it's was Anthony said it's a good replacement for melatonin.
I think it's probably a slow burn, but
I think, it's like Rogue One was. Like, that was kind of a slow burn. Like, there were definitely exciting moments here and there, and if you didn't make it through episode 3, there's definitely exciting moments in episode 3. So, all right, so let's dig into Andor. What are your thoughts on the 3 episodes so far?
It is, I think, to Anthony's point, it is a little bit of a slow burn, but I think the reason why is because this isn't a 9 or 10 episode season. I want to say it's like 18 episodes. They're throwing everything at the glass to see what sticks here. So you can't have, well, you probably can, but I'm guessing the writers or stuff are like, we can't have everything go right now, and then in episode 12 and 13 there's nothing going on. So it's got to be a little bit, I would say, character development, but in the first couple episodes we kind of already know that he's only got a few friends, and even they don't really like him too much. I will say the one thing and I hate starting off with the thing I was put off by, but
no, good.
There's that scene in Rogue One when Jyn confronts Cassian in the hold of the ship with everybody around, when she confronts him about trying to kill her father, and they get into that heated argument, and he says he's been in this fight since he was 6 years old. Now, I understand that the Empire hasn't been around that long at that point, but he gets recruited to do the stuff that we know him for in Rogue One 5 years before Rogue One. So what has he been doing? What fight has he been in his whole life? Because all I'm seeing right now, and I'm not upset about it, I'm just noticing it. Because all I'm seeing right now is he's a scumbag. He is a thief. He's a murderer. He's like Han Solo on crack. He doesn't pay his debts. Nobody will loan him money. He has to go to his friends to ask them to hide him or lie to him if the authorities come looking for him. And they all, every time somebody would be looking for Andor, they'd say, "What has he done now?" So I'm okay with it. I'm not upset with it, but I'm hoping they're going to address that. How can you be in this fight since you were 6 years old, but not even get into that until you're recruited by this guy? Just 5 years before.
I have a theory on that.
Okay, I'd love to hear it.
Okay, so this is drawing stuff from the new canon of books.
Okay.
And things, and they even start to set this up when they talk about what happened to his planet. There's no adults in the flashbacks to him
on Kenari.
Yeah, it's all like teenagers and younger.
Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, I think there's a reason for that. I think all the adults were working in the mine that he sees, that mining operation. I think they call them the Republic, so I think this is the early days of the Empire, like when people were still calling the Empire the Republic.
Okay.
Like as things were transitioning, because if he's 20-something, mid-20s, early 30s by the time of Rogue One, if this is 5 years earlier than that, and the flashback is, so that would have been, if this is 5 years before the Battle of Yavin, it's 15 years,
14 years since
the Empire. So based on his age there, so maybe he was fighting, his planet was fighting against the Republic in the Clone Wars. Maybe they didn't want to be, maybe they were trying to secede with the...
So when he says he's been fighting this fight, he doesn't mean strictly against, but this kind of fight.
That's how I'm taking it.
Okay. See, now that's the kind of thing that get that good conversation start with. Now I can see that point of view and go, okay, he doesn't mean just against the Empire. He's been fighting, whether it's the Republic or bounty hunters or trappers or whatever he's been going through. It's the same thing. Got to stay alive. Got to keep moving. Got to keep everybody, got to keep my friends alive. So the fight is just the way he's been living his whole life, not specifically against one form of tyrannical government or one other.
Right.
See, now I can watch it again and not freak out.
When in that second episode and the third episode where you get that flashback when they go investigate that crashed ship, and is it Marva, the woman that takes him in? She's like, his people, we can't leave him with his people. They just killed a Republic officer. So that's a Republic cruiser. And again, maybe that's still around the time of the transition, or maybe it's still in the Republic era, because Tyler said in here they do show clones in the trailers. So I'm going to have to go watch that again. So like, like Saw Gerrera in the Clone Wars series, he was fighting with the Republic against the Separatists, but he gets so radicalized in his tactics because his sister dies.
And that's probably going, I'm guessing that's around this time,
Yeah, because Clone Wars was only 3 years, only a 3-year war only. And so I think that's one of the things I really like about this show is they're giving us, as much as I love the Skywalker and the Jedi stories, I love that we're seeing these now more on the ground, more limited, more human story. Like I love the fantasy elements.
More stories about the rebellion outside of, or not even the rebellion, but pockets of it, early risings of it. Same thing with Rebels.
Sure.
It really doesn't have anything to do with the Skywalker stuff, but you're starting to see these cells come together for the same thing. So I agree completely.
And that's what I think is happening here is this Stellan Skarsgård's character. I think he's part of, I don't know if he's part of that like infrastructure of the actual rebellion, like how Ahsoka was in the Clone Wars, working with Bale and being Fulcrum and tying those things together. But this is around the same time as Rebels, because Rebels is about 4 or 5 years before Yavin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is when the cells are really starting to come together.
Yeah. Yep.
To
I agree.
form the rebellion.
You know, I'm not sure what to think about Skarsgård's character yet. Could he be with the rebellion? Could he be more of a Saw Gerrera type? You know, kind of a for hire kind of guy, where Mon Mothma's trying to streamline everything. He could still be. I'm not sure about him yet.
I feel like he's leaning towards working with the rebellion, but yeah, he might, because he's like, and when in that shootout in the warehouse, when they get to the officer, the corporate officer, that in his too tight uniform,
Yeah,
he tells him to kill him, and he doesn't. So like, he has no hesitation to kill when he has to, Andor.
Yeah,
but it's at this point, it's not his only move.
Right. Right. It's only the last move he has, and you see that same scene in Rebels. He realizes that there's no other way but to drop this guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not an easy thing for him to do, and you're right. I think it's the last moment type thing for him, the last thing I got to do. But so I'm anxious to see that development on Skarsgård character. I don't know if there's a possible love interest with the woman that's his friend, although she was in love with Tim, who turned on Cassian. So there's some things I'm interested in. I'm really enjoying the fact this is the first time that they're like they posted the Battle of Yavin 5 years. They actually posted it as we're watching it. And not only that, but it's the first time too, like in Rogue One, where they're listing the names of the planets or wherever it is they're going. I get the feeling from the first 3 episodes of Andor as if, let me see if I can say this so everybody gets it, as if we're watching a story that somebody else is telling that's not Andor. It's almost like the first 3 episodes of Andor is a book and somebody is reading it to us, as opposed to when you watch Phantom Menace or New Hope and you're watching a story, but it's almost like it's happening right now. Now, yes, we know it happened. We know Andor is happening in the past, but it's got that feel like you're almost looking at it through a history book kind of feel to it, which I enjoy.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a lot of little intricate parts that they're going to put in these slow burn episodes, so that when it does domino, when it does snowball, it's going to make that weight that much better, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think, again, coming back to Anthony's point, I think that they can't do too much right now because it's a very long season. It's not like it's a 9 episode season. So I'm anxious to kind of see what they're going to do with that.
Yeah. And I know with the stuff, the flashbacks to him as a kid, like they've made it very clear in some of the books, like that's something that the Empire did, like the New Dawn book, where it introduces Hera and Kanan meeting for the first time.
Okay.
The Empire is mining and stripping stuff from these planets and working the people to death just to build resources for their ships and their weapons. And and that's the same thing again in the books that they, good night, Anthony. Thanks for stopping by.
Good night, Anthony.
Yeah, I'm glad you stopped in. He was asking earlier how tired I was. I got home early enough. I took a nap for a while before.
I take them just because I'm old.
But yeah. In the books, they explain like Rose, that's her sister that dies in the beginning of Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Or, yeah. There's a book that takes place immediately before this, where they're on this mission, and it explains the reason they're fighting against the First Orders, because they basically did the same thing as the Empire. They took over her planet, they strip mined it, forced everybody to work, and all this stuff. So you get this. I wish they would have put more of that into the movies, And like, I think there's so much cool stuff in the books that it's like, put this in the movies, put this in the shows. And I think Andor is going to be doing that, where they're going to show that's why these people hate the Empire, not just because they rule everything, but they're literally working us to death and destroying our planet, mining them to death.
And I think, to your point, I think that's why it needs to continue on as a television show, because you can't, as much as we'd love to see it, you can't put that backstory stuff about Rose's sister, because then all of a sudden you're on if you do that throughout the film, then you're going to 4.5 hour movie.
Right.
So there's enough there for you to understand that, that's Rose's sister. And I need to get my hands on some more of these books, because it sounds like I'm missing some structure that helps with some of the background stuff to these shows and stuff. So I need to get my hands on some of these books, or at least audio books, and listen to them, because I'm missing out. Let's just listen to you talk about some of the things that are in the books. I'm missing out. Like, I had no idea that they did a book and explained more about Rose's sister. And I mean, I get from watching Rose in The Last Jedi that whether it's Canto Bight on there with the politicians and locals at Canto Bight with the horse racing and slavery and everything, or it's the Empire on Rose's planet, it's all the same. So although you get that feeling that you understand why Rose is how she is and why she has the disdain for that stuff that's going on in Canto Bight, yeah, there is something missing. And going to the books is a good reference, and I really should do that, because I bet it would open my eyes to a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, the new books, like in the new, what they're calling the new canon, or after they, all that stuff. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. But it's something I just realized, like, they don't really show us why the Empire is bad in the movies, other than destroying Alderaan.
Right.
Like, we don't know, and yeah, okay, the stormtroopers are a little oppressive on Tatooine looking for the droids and everything, but like, we just know people don't like the Empire.
Right.
And so I like that we're getting to see some of that in something that's a little more broadly pop culture, like Andor, where, so yeah, no one's going to see that Rose and her Paige story in the movies, but seeing what these people are doing, because I think, is it in Rebels that they show, is it Ilum, the ice planet, where
the
they
ice
go to
planet
find
where they get the crystals,
how the Empire has like destroyed that, looking
just
for
come
more
through and just mowed it
I
down.
think as far as TV shows and movies goes, that's the only thing that's really shown us up until Bad Batch and now Andor and Rebels what it was like under the Empire.
And that's good, because in the same light we were talking about Vader, having this space where we don't know anything about, and they finally get to showing it. I think you're right. In shows like Andor, Rebels, you're finally starting to see how bad, how evil the Empire was. And we were just going through, word of mouth while we were watching the stuff that, they're just the bad guys.
Yeah.
But now you can see it now, in Mando, and even the remnants in Mando, and all these shows, that, you're starting to see that it wasn't just one guy and his, armored sidekick in a giant bowling ball mowing things down. It's going on everywhere.
Yeah.
And so you feel for these characters a lot more than you would in a 2-hour movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and plus, we haven't even gotten to the Empire yet in Andor.
No.
It's this corporate string, which they say is like the first line of the Empire, which is another thing interesting in Master and Apprentice, the story of an early story between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, when Obi-Wan's a Padawan. Years before, at least a couple years before the events of Phantom Menace, they're dealing with an issue on a planet, and like slavery, they deal with the whole slavery issue they talk about in Phantom Menace. Like, we didn't come here to free slaves, that corporations are doing that. They're enslaving different populations as corporations, and there's all the political jargon around that protecting them. And I like that they're working some of this stuff into the shows, especially the live action shows, because so many more people are going to watch this.
Yeah, I
And
do like the this corporate security company, for lack of a better term, and that not I think his name was Knox, or the guy that the prissy guy in charge
yeah,
brings in. That guy, man. I mean, yeah, he works for this security group, but you could see that, if he survives, he's gonna probably end up as a captain in the Imperial.
yeah.
Because
Oh man,
that dude, he
that
locked it down.
yeah, that scene when his like the Scottish guy is giving the troops like the speech about what they're going to do when they get to the planet,
Yeah,
and then he gets up and he's just like, thanks for being here, guys. And like
yeah.
everybody's like clearly
What are we
like I
doing?
like that he's not a very charismatic leader and he doesn't
Yeah,
know what he's doing. I like seeing him fail. And Curtis, I'm not going to try to make you like the show. If you think it's boring, that's totally fine. But a lot of people were saying that about Obi-Wan, and it's like, well, we know Obi-Wan's 6 episodes or whatever, and you can't have that confrontation with him and Vader be the most epic thing in that first meeting with them. Like, I love
right.
that they set it up. Now, there were definitely some
Just like anything else.
staging
I
issues. I
thought
think
Obi-Wan was a slow burn too.
yeah, but like the build up to that fight with them on that the planet at the end, I thought that
Yeah,
was it was worth it.
yeah,
Granted, the whole escape under the overcoat was a bit goofy, and the siege on that hangar, I think more of those rebels should have died, not because I like a bloodbath, but
yeah. You can't have that
you
much
can't have
firepower and force.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I
think that with Obi-Wan, I think that scene you're talking about with the cloak and everything, that might be somebody just saying, you know what, we got to throw a little Lucas bone here. You remind ourselves sometimes that
yeah,
that there's kids watching this too,
yeah.
and that's originally what it was for for kids and to make them think and stuff. But coming back to Andor and that prissy guy, yeah, I don't know how he's gonna make it through, but I thought that whole uh, skirmish was pretty cool. I thought they
On
did that really well,
in episode
and
3,
yeah, in episode 3, um,
my
was really cool, and yeah, I really enjoyed that whole scene. And to me, that's an action sequence. That was a pretty good action sequence for
I
three. So
yeah, I love that when the one you see the guys running, like, what are they doing? The one guy starts clanging on the metal,
yeah,
and
and
then someone
they
else
start
starts
talking to
doing
each
it,
other.
and then they're doing it. And my friend and I were talking. There was almost like being on the other side of Black Hawk Down.
Yeah,
Where the people are I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that again. Like that was just that bell
they're letting each other know what's going on.
and
Yeah,
the two guards that were with Marva in the home and Cassian's house. They're like, what is that? And she's like, that's the sound of a reckoning. I was like, oh man, like
yeah, and they keep telling her to stop talking, and she keeps talking to her, and you think that they're gonna just end her right there. Nope, they get out of the house and they leave. They're like, okay, we gotta go,
yeah. And they're like, well,
because this bitch knows more than what she's talking
yeah.
about.
Like what happens when it stops? And she's just like leans back and she's like, all right, I've got the upper hand. She's like,
Yep, yep. Oh man,
and yeah,
I would
just
say I would say Curtis, you're 3 episodes into a 12 episode or 14 episode season. I mean, you don't eat a donut when it's half cooked. So give it a
and
shot.
I like slow burns. Like I think the best westerns, not the hotels, but like the best Western movies and shows are slow burns. Like Open Range. Have you ever watched Open
I
Range?
have not seen that yet.
Oh,
Kevin Costner, is that right?
yes. That is probably my favorite Western of all time. It's
Really?
it's a really slow burn, but it is so good. I know Tyler's gonna back me up on that one. He loves that movie too. Um,
The thing with slow burn is it's not like you're not getting anything out of it. You're getting information. You're getting character background. You're getting, you know, what they're in a direction they're going. It's not just, oh, they didn't shoot anybody today, so we didn't learn anything, so it must be bad. We learn a little. We learned more about Cassian in the first 3 episodes than we did in Rogue One, and he's a hero in Rogue One. But we just learned more about him in the first 3 episodes, and we're going to learn more about him. And like somebody today, I think it was, I don't know, it was Pete or maybe it had been Travis, said, if K2SO's not in this, then I'm going to be really upset. Well, hello, they've already said that the final episode of this series leads him like right up to the moment when he gets introduced in Rogue One. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you're going to see K2SO. I'm kind of thinking that, how in Solo, L3 became part of the Falcon? I'm wondering if maybe B2 might end up being a little bit of K2. Like he's going to have to take something out of that little messed up, beat up, droid that reminds me of Bob from old Bob from the Black Hole.
Yeah.
That's going back. So.
And Tyler's pointing this out. Diego Luna is also in Open Range.
Oh.
He's much younger, but yeah. It's him. Second Dumbledore. I'm blanking on so many names right now.
Yeah.
Michael something, I think. Michael Gambon is the villain in that movie. Annette Bening. What's
is that Duvall in that one too?
Yeah, Robert Duvall. Yeah,
okay.
That's yeah. It's a great movie.
I will have to check it out.
Beautiful cinematography on it too. Yeah, it's really good. Real quick, Nick is asking what program I use to make my thumbnail graphics. Nick, if you're talking about the green, I'm doing it again. I always point at stuff with my mouse. It's like no one can see that. The green name logo is just built into the StreamYard program. You can do a couple different options to change up how they look. If you're talking about the rabbit, my Meep character in the top corner, I just drew that in, what do you call that? Procreate on my iPad and, made it to the dimensions. And that's a bug that's built into the program for StreamYard. So yeah, Michael Jeter, Kim Coates. Yeah. So yeah, the the portraits, like for the cover pictures, I draw those in Procreate. I just trace over, like Kyle sent me a picture. I just traced over it and then colored it in and just did my own stuff with it. So just because it's faster than doing it completely by hand. But yeah, that whole sequence with the chimes and the buildup, love that. Yeah, and seeing, I know, and it could have just been a thing where the actor was like, no, I'm not involved in it, and it might just be for the first season. But I know, man, I'm horrible with names tonight. The actor that voiced K2SO in Rogue One. Alan Tudyk. He said he was not involved in Andor well before it ever came out. Now, I don't know if that's just the first season, because I know there's going to be time jumps at some point. But maybe we'll get him. Maybe that version of the voice doesn't come in until he gets altered. But yeah, if this is going to butt up right up to the introduction of him in Rogue One, we'll have to see K2 at some point.
It has to. It's possible that they could do a scene where, he captures that droid and then the droid's laying on the ground and sparks or whatever, and he looks down and says, well, we're going to have to do something with this. And then you never see K2 again. It's possible they could do something like that, but I would think that you'd have to see it. You'd have to see him at some point, whether he's animate, inanimate. Maybe the voice that you hear is a garbled electronic voice. Sure. It would have to be Alan Tudyk. But you get the feeling from Rogue One that he's been with Cassian for a bit. It's not like it was just like the week before that he reprogrammed him. Because they have that repertoire already. I agree. Cast Alan Tudyk and everything.
Yeah. Ocean's
He was
14.
this close to getting. He was getting this close to being Rocket Raccoon.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ocean's 14 with 14 Allen
14 Allen
tunics.
tunics. Yeah.
I'm in.
I'd watch it.
But yeah, I think I mean, I don't think this is spoiling anything unless you haven't watched the trailers. There's clearly a moment where Cassian goes undercover as an officer in the Empire, and like maybe that's how he acquires the K2SO droid before he reprograms it.
I mean, it could be a ton. I mean, it could be anything like that. He could, yeah. It's possible that it's like a Terminator sequence where those droids are sent into a village or something, and there's a firefight. So I'm sure whatever they have planned, they're gonna. I mean, it's gonna be one of those moments where people go, "Yes!"
Yeah,
you have to do it. You have
like
to do it.
Even if it's the end of the first season where like he somehow like disables the droid and it, you're like, oh, that's going to be K2SO.
Yeah.
I'd love it because I'm with Travis or whoever said it, like K2SO is my favorite character in Rogue One. Just when they're like, if our ship breaks apart in the atmosphere over that shield, we would die. Well,
I won't.
I won't. Just like how I love how sarcastic and dry he is.
There is and I've talked about this before on a couple different podcasts, but there is a fan theory that somebody was talking. I want to say it's a fan theory, but apparently there was a sequence filmed, and I've yet to get verification on this. When I say verification, I don't know somebody in the industry, but I am friends, and I've been friends with a couple of guys that do the Blast Points podcast. It's all Star Wars, and these guys get into stuff that I would never know. Like, they would know how many toes the second Jawa you see in New Hope has. These guys dive deep. And I want to say one of these guys talked to me about a scene that was filmed in which Jin and Cassian survive the blast.
Oh,
let me what happens is if you watch Rogue One, and right before the blast hits them, you see that they're holding each other, and you see Cassian look up and away, and his eyes get real big, and then it's a planet shot of the vapor. And apparently what it was K2, and we know this from earlier in the movie. K2 knows where Cassian is. He's got a tracker on him or whatever, but K2 knows, hey, you were here, I lost you, and then you were here, whatever happens. So what happens is, apparently, there's a backup system that Cassian put in K2. He gets mowed down at the control panel, but the backup system kicks in. He locates Cassian, who's on the beach. He crawls out to Cassian and Jin, and at the last second, envelops them in ray shields, which we know Jedis can't even get out of. And they are enveloped in the ray shield bubble when the blast hits. Now, they survive. Now, who knows? They could be battered and beaten and burned or whatever. But apparently, that is a theory that people are saying that simple look that Cassian has indicates that he sees K2 on the beach.
Okay.
Now, I have yet to, in the different people I've talked to that do have I've yet to hear that as a leaked footage or anything like that, but just something I always like to think that, okay, maybe they were just in a hospital somewhere. Depending on how long the ray shields held.
Yeah. Interesting.
So just weird stuff that I look into. So
that's cool.
Yeah. But I am excited to see the K2 thing, and I think if they don't do it, there's going to be a lot of upheaval about it. People are want to see that progression in the storyline get to that point, and I'm one of them.
Yeah. I love that character. The first time I saw Rogue One, I didn't dislike it, but I was like, that was kind of depressing, even though I kind of knew that's how it had to end.
Of course, of course.
But I read the novelization and some of the way they just wrote in what the characters were feeling. And then when I watched the movie again, I'm like, oh my gosh, like the expressions, I can see all the stuff I read in the book. There's not a lot of differences, but you get some of that internal thought processes that you don't get in the movie. I'm like, nope, he just conveyed that look, or, oh, yep, that little gesture or whatever. I'm like, and every time I watch it, I like that movie more and more.
Exactly. And that's, like I said, I watched it more than any of the other ones, and I watch them a lot.
I do. Tyler mentioned this earlier, and about the trailer. I do wish that shot of, he didn't specifically say this one, but there were some shots in the trailer that would have been really cool to see. I think where when she's facing down the TIE fighter at the end of that. That would have been cool to see. But yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely, there's, and of course they did it with all of them. There's stuff that you see in the trailers that don't appear in any of the movies.
Sure.
So, we'll see with how much of the stuff that the trailers we have for Andor are actually in Andor. But so far with the TV shows, they've been really doing well with it. So I'm happy so far. I do agree with Curtis. It's a slow burn, but I think it's because it's more of a, I have to think of, this show has to, you have to think about this more than Boba Fett, where it's just, shiny guns and riding banthas and, Power Ranger speeder bikes and the whole 9 yards and that. Not as much thought needs to go into Boba Fett as Andor, and as it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Skelevator's here. He is asking, off subject, but is that a New Adventures Tuscador in a baggie behind you?
It is. It's not a New Adventures. It's a Classics.
Okay.
I bought it. I bought it because I think it's going to go with Cosmic Legions. I have no connection to the character at all.
Oh.
But as soon as I saw the Cosmic Legions came out, I was like, I've got to have some Tuscadors. I took the tusks off. The tusks are in the bag, but
okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And
he's obviously from his name, he's a huge Motu fan. So yeah, and Curtis saying he's liked all the series so far, so he hopes it gets better.
I think it will. I think it will
too.
If it doesn't, then I'll be the first one to voice my opinion. But
in a letter to your congressman.
Not to my congressman. Yeah. Maybe to Kathleen Kennedy, but no.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues with all that stuff going on.
Yeah.
So
Andor feels bigger than some of the other shows. I agree. I think they've got a plan to make it longer, so they're not trying to. Because I think Obi-Wan was originally that was going to be written to be a movie, and they stretched it out a little bit to make it a show.
Yeah.
And,
which I'm glad they did.
Yeah.
And I can't remember why they said they did that, but I have to think it's because of all the problems that people were having with the movies, with the sequels, that they went, we need to maybe back off of this 2-hour thing and let's put it into a 3-hour or 3.5-hour thing.
Yeah.
So that we can, because if you look at Obi-Wan as a movie, how much of that has to get edited out?
Yeah.
Are they even going to have the character of Tala in it?
Yeah.
Because she has got some good scenes, some good parts. She's part of the rebellion, and then she's out. Yeah. So my guess is she'd have been edited out altogether if that was a movie. And you lose something with that.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I think they're doing all right with Andor. Plus the way they're doing it with the long episodical seasons, and I think they've only said we're capping this thing at 3 or 4 or whatever that was.
Yeah,
that's it. We already know we're not gonna play around. We're gonna do 3 or 4 or whatever it is, and we're done.
Yeah.
So they got.
And I love. I didn't notice it the first episodes, but I noticed when I watched episode 3 that Diego Luna is actually one of the producers on the show, which I think is really cool. Same with Ewan McGregor was a producer on Obi-Wan. So I love that the guys who are actually invested in the characters and the ladies that are I feel like because they love the character so much, they want to see that it gets handled correctly.
Especially Diego Luna. That dude has not stopped talking. He has not stopped talking about Andor, Rogue One and Star Wars in general. He is all in.
Yeah.
So how can you not? And this comes all the way back to Hasbro. Let a 50-year-old dude wearing a T-shirt and white tennis shoes come in and give you a hand.
And
you
then
got somebody that knows it and loves it, let him help you. And Luna loves it. And so does, McGregor stopped production. He stopped production, said, this is getting out of hand. This is not how this is not how this character would do this. This is not how. And he stopped it until they went back and fixed some of the writing.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, now we're good to go. And
Yeah.
that's what they need. They need somebody to pull the reins.
And then they need to run it by a 10-year-old kid or something to be like, haha, you made a mistake there.
Yeah, I'm telling you. And it would be so simple to, and my consultation fee wouldn't be, crazy.
Yeah.
I just want one of every action figure. And,
Curtis, I agree. Multiverse of Madness. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or you're genuine there, but I think that would have made a better series instead of a movie. I think they crammed way too much into that movie, but
I could see that. That movie was pretty fast paced. The openings, boom, the Marvel logo comes up and boom, you're finding a tentacle octopus dude.
Yeah,
so,
you didn't really get to sit with anything in that movie.
No, it kept moving, kept changing. The only thing I think that we were able to sit with was it slowed down a bit when they got to the not the Immortals. What's the name of the group? Professor X's group.
Oh, the Illuminati.
Illuminati, yeah. That's where it kind of slowed down and kind of went, okay, pay attention. We're not going to come at you real fast with a bunch of stuff. But then everybody's like, their eyes are like, I can't blink because there's Captain Carter and there's an alternate Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel and there's the guy from The Office. So I could see that. I could see them instead of doing that movie, maybe TV show. So
looks like Tyler says, as long as there's more Star Wars booty calls.
God.
The baby's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, this has been an awesome chat. I'm so glad you agreed to come on the show.
Oh, absolutely.
And talk Star Wars and stuff. Do you have anything else Star Wars related you want to get out that, or anything related that you want to say before we wrap up?
I'm happy to be where I'm at and being able to meet people face to face and talk with them like I'm talking with you and reaching some people on some different podcasts and just show other people that whether you're 10 years old or 50 years old, you can enjoy what you're doing and collecting and fun and talking with other people that are same age as your kids and just enjoying life with what we're doing right now. So
absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to the future.
Me too. Specifically upcoming Legions Con, which
I can't wait.
I'll plug that one more time. I know Jeremy said he's not trying to make a rush on the tickets, but he said they probably will sell out of tickets. So if you are thinking about going, go. Come hang out with us. You're going to have a great time. Yes, please.
And if you're on the fence, Jess and I are going to be there.
Yeah.
So that's all you need.
Yeah.
Just show up. And
yeah.
Steven will be there and Trev.
Yeah. And I'll be right across from you guys at the My Wife Is Gonna Kill Me booth. So
awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, Austin Morrison, he's going to be there. I know a lot of the guys in the chat are going to be there.
Well, come and say hello. Yeah. We're all very approachable.
Yeah.
And we're happy to meet everybody and throw out hugs and get COVID with each other.
We'll see if Pete still wants to talk to me.
Pete's all bark and no bark.
No, I like I said, I had planned on talking to Pete about coming on and talk about D&D, but I wanted to. I'm trying to focus Legions Con.
I think you should. I think it would be great, and he will do it. But I'm telling you, stretch the gag out, make it last. Get Steve, get Jeremy.
There you go, Curtis.
Get Trav, get Cody. Before you get Pete, that would be awesome.
Oh yeah. For anyone who is into Mythic Legions, there's a hashtag that some of our friends started in Instagram, hashtag AdventureParty22. where you put together some of your customs as like a D&D or adventure party, just with a sound clip as a reel. So I know they've been using the Avengers theme. I used some other one. I don't know if there was official rules to it, but if you're on Instagram and you do want to do a custom adventure party, use hashtag Adventure Party 22. Thanks, Danny. Good call. Yeah, Kyle, it was great talking to you. I really
too, my
had
friend.
fun, and
I did too.
look forward to hanging out more at Legions Con in a couple
I do
weeks.
too. I can't wait.
All right.
Thanks.
Hang on. I'll be right back with you. Hold on one sec.
Okay,
I'm going to
you
bump
got
you
it.
out and say goodbye to everybody. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully that our conversation was not as boring as some of you find Andor. And Curtis, as much as I love Star Wars, Lord of the Rings is always going to be my favorite franchise series. So yeah, anything Lord of the Rings, especially the original trilogy, is always going to grab my attention. So thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. For all of you I got to see at RetroCon, I had a blast. For those of you I'll be seeing at PowerCon or Legions Con in a couple weeks, I can't wait. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the interwebs of Facebook and Instagram, and next week with my next guest. Make sure you come back then. Hope you have a great night and a great week, or whatever it is when you're watching this. Thanks for coming out. Check out my Instagram, just shelve it, just.shelve.it. And I got a link tree in there with all the different places I post my stuff if you want to check that out. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for commenting. Kyle, thanks for joining me. And everybody else, I'll see you next time. And until then, what's on your shelf?